career insight, industry expertise, and professional development. This is the Career Gurus Podcast, your premier source for helping you navigate into a new career. Hosted by Daniel and Matthew. Podcasts are uploaded weekly on all platforms, so make sure you're subscribed.
All right, episode 1 of the Career Gurus Podcast, where we help you find insight into your next career. I'm Matthew, and my co-host Daniel. Hey, Daniel.
Hey, Matthew. How are you?
I'm doing well, and we got our very first guest on, Taurus. Hey, Taurus.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Honored to be the first guest. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no doubt. We appreciate it. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah. So my name is Taurus. I'm a field sales representative with DHL Express. Currently, I live in Columbus as a sales rep. I do outside sales with the company, meaning I visit different businesses and get them to work with DHL Express for their logistics needs.
Right on. Taurus, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself personally and what you like to do, hobbies, things like that.
Definitely, yeah. Growing up, I was always more on the competitive side, so sports came natural to me. I grew up competing in kickboxing, boxing, and a couple other martial arts. So competition is definitely big for me, and that kind of is perfect when working in the sales industry, which is kind of how I got into my career now.
Yeah, that's something that's talked about often is, being competitive and results driven. And it seems like, a lot of athletes transition into sales, and it's a good fit because, there's those metrics and those quotas. And would you say, that really helps you in your role and especially helps you succeed when it comes to achieving sales quotas and things like that?
Yeah, 100%. And it was actually very interesting to me when I was doing, when I was getting interviewed by different companies out of college. They would ask certain questions regarding sports and competitive background. And I really got to see how much that, really means to different businesses when it comes to sales. But yeah, it definitely helps me in my day-to-day just drive of attaining new business, trying to be the best in the industry, delivering the best experiences, things like that.
Oh, no doubt. That's a big thing that they ask in the medical device industry. I know that for a fact.
Right.
We'll see that a lot, that most of the Stryker Medtronic reps, they happen to be college athletes at one point.
Right.
Yep. So kind of taking a look at your education, how has that played into it to where you are right now? Did you need a specific type of continuous education, or did you go to higher education? How does this all pan out to where you are right now?
Yeah, so funny that you mentioned, like medical sales. Basically, I have a bachelor's degree in health science. My goal was to get into medical sales, considering I had some sales experience and my competitive drive, of course. So I was looking at getting into medical sales. They needed a bit more on my resume, so I didn't really get into that industry. But my buddy was working at DHL, which is just the complete opposite of health science. And he was getting paid out pretty well, and he was getting to use his sales skills. And the opportunity came up, and I hopped on it. And I haven't looked back since.
Oh, that's great. So do you have any plans to further your education, or at this point would you would be confident with your bachelor's degree?
Yeah, I think I'm good with my bachelor's degree. Mostly when you're looking to bounce around from company to company in sales, it's not so much the education. Once you've got that bachelor's degree, it's more of just experience.
Okay. And would you need like a master's degree in order to progress in your career?
No. So for example, I started in inside sales. I got promoted to outside sales. My supervisor has a bachelor's degree, and he's the outside sales manager in the area. I feel like there's a steady progression within the company just based on experience.
Very cool. Very cool. Just springboarding off of that, you mentioned you started off in inside sales and now you're an outside sales rep. Maybe take us through your journey, how you started, where you started, and what that's been like, for anyone who wants to get into sales and this might be their, their first step.
Right. Yeah. So I used to work at Best Buy, and I thought every sales job was the same. I thought you just talked to customers who reached out to you and you got them to purchase the product or service that you were offering. But that's not the case. I got hired by DHL Express doing inside sales, which is just calling on customers. There were no face-to-face visits. There were no Zoom meetings, Teams meetings, anything like that. It was a very, very basic way of just prospecting, reaching out to current customers and building business that way. Once I've proved successful in that area for about a year in that role, that's when the company and I started talking about, hey, we want you to start visiting customers, start building bigger clients with us, building more business. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've been in this role for a year, and I'm working with businesses that spend anywhere between $1,500 and to $40,000 a month with us.
Okay. So inside sales was building up like the existing clientele, those existing relationships, trying to expand like the customer accounts there. And then whereas the outside sales is new business development, right?
But for the most part, yeah, we wouldn't do much prospecting in inside sales. It was more so just maintaining and developing current customers. Field sales is definitely more focused on getting new business.
So day to day, what does that look like for you? Are you like almost door to door, face to face sales completely? What does that involve?
Yeah, one of the best things about working with DHL right now is the fact that it's kind of hybrid at the moment. So 2 days a week, I'm doing customer visits, and I split that up about half and half, new customers and current customers. So I'm just visiting businesses, door to door sales, giving my business cards, talking about their international shipping and trying to get them on board. The other half is going to my current customers and just saying, hey, you guys need any help? Here's some baked goods. Thank you for working with us. Just building that relationship and maintaining it. And the days that I'm not doing visits, I'm basically doing the same exact thing via telephone. So calling new businesses, calling new customers, and reaching out to the points of contacts I have now with current customers and keeping them on board and seeing if any support is needed.
Yeah. I mean, I think, that's great for, people that are entering sales. And like you said, every sales role is different and they may not know exactly what to expect. And I guess my one other follow-up question to that is maybe talk to us a little bit about the challenges right now, specifically in the industry, like logistics as a whole. I know supply chain is, of course, complicated, and that's a complicated issue to explain. And I'm sure even Matt, you can follow up on this. You've got a lot of experience in logistics, but yeah, maybe talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing right now in terms of the industry and the complications with all the moving pieces.
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of all over the place sometimes. For the most part, it's steady, but then you have something crazy come up, like China has these lockdowns due to coronavirus. Now, all of a sudden, the customers that I had that were shipping from China are non-existent for 3 months because there's no needs being met on that end. So, of course, that's going to mess with our targets. That's going to mess with our relationships with clients, because now they're reaching out to us saying, hey, we have these needs. This needs to be here in a week or so. You guys specialize in that, and now you're saying you can't do anything with us. So it's a bit all over the place when it comes to that. But for the most part, if there's nothing going on that's super crazy all over the world type of thing, then it's pretty steady.
Very interesting. That kind of leads me into a question. What would you say is the best and worst part about your job?
Yeah, I would say the best part about my job is the freedom. I get to create my own schedule. I get to drive to customers, call on customers on my own time. As long as I hit the KPIs, the targets that they put in front of me, I kind of am my own boss in a sense. On the other hand, the worst part of my job is probably the internal system and everything that needs to be just recorded and marked. You know what I mean? So I'm doing these productive visits, I'm doing these productive calls, but afterwards I have to spend 30 minutes, an hour each day just logging everything and moving customers down the pipeline through different stages, just so our internal system is telling us, hey, this customer is progressing.
Okay, very cool. Do you ever see yourself tasked with a job that, or a goal that just doesn't seem attainable? Like I feel like that happens a lot in sales, or am I wrong by saying that?
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. And I feel like that happens at most jobs, wouldn't you say? Just because the company always wants you to exceed their expectations and wants you to be driven and gives you these kind of unrealistic goals just so you could shoot for the stars. And if you don't land, you at least land on the moon, so you're still driving business. But yeah, definitely.
I definitely think that too. Yeah, Daniel, and I think everyone else listening can definitely relate to that. So there's always going to be hard goals to be met. So I guess in that regards.
Yeah.
With that being said, I know obviously compensation, especially in sales, is primarily commission based. Of course, you have a base salary, so maybe talk to us a little bit about that. And I guess the pressure is obviously to perform and hit those quotas.
Yeah, right. In sales, it's fortunately I'm in an industry with a company that provides a solid base pay as well as if you hit a specific goal, you're going to be compensated properly. So I'm getting compensated well as far as I was hired with the company. They gave me a solid base pay and they said, hey, you want to make this commission, you're going to have to earn it by maintaining and gaining new business. And fortunately, I'm in the position where I've actually earned more through my commission than my base pay. And that's not to say my base pay is tiny or something like that. It's just they give great opportunity.
Yeah, that's fantastic, especially in today's market and today's economy. That's awesome. I want to jump back a little bit. I don't know if we touched upon this, but like you mentioned, you work for DHL, and most people know that they're a logistics and distribution company. Maybe talk to us a little bit about the channels and accounts you're dealing with. Like, are you dealing specifically with like freight, shipping, airlines, things like that, or are you in a specific account?
Yeah, so I work with DHL Express. DHL is it's a big company. We do different types of shipping. Express in itself is all air. So we specialize in 3 to 4 day international shipping via air. There's DHL Global Forwarding, which is all ocean. There's DHL e-commerce, but I work in Express, which is just getting customers shipments urgently. So some of the accounts that I work with, for example, one of my bigger accounts is Aritzia. It's a clothing company. They just have our option on their website as a 3 to 4 day international shipping option, and our shipments come in pretty quickly to customers.
So I would presume that you have sales reps specifically for each one of those transportation models, right?
What exactly do you mean?
So one by air freight, one by sea.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Because they are quite different disciplines.
Right. And we often collaborate with them. If we find something out from a customer where they have a shipment that's too large for, say, an airplane to carry, we'll forward them over to Global Forwarding, who's going to say, hey, you guys might want to do that via ocean. I'm the guy for you.
Okay. Very cool. So, with all the experience that you have right now and everything you kind of learned in your career, and I know sounds like you're really enjoying it, where do you see it progressing past this point? What would be a few options that if someone's in this role right now, where could they go?
Yeah. So in specific, the route that I want to take next would be a national account manager, which means my customers are capped off at $40,000 of revenue a month with us. And then I hand it off to another sales rep who takes care of larger customers. That's a national account manager. That would probably be something that I'm interested in down the line. Those become your bigger companies, your Teslas, things like that. That's definitely one of the options that I'm looking at. But another popular route is just to go to an ASM, area sales manager. So I'd be supporting field sales reps such as myself in a certain territory, and typically they support about 5-6 reps.
Very cool. Now, do you see that being within the logistics field or some other field?
I think the logistics field, especially considering I have a good relationship with the company. I know the territory well. I know the colleagues that I work with pretty well. I think it would be a good place to start. So getting that experience, and if it's not for me, at least I'd have something under my belt to bring into, say, medical sales down the line.
Very cool. At that level, national account managers or area sales managers, you're dealing with purchasing managers at the companies that you're working with. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
So that's some real proper negotiations that you have to work with.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I'm having, candidly, my supervisor is hopping on most important calls that I have and joining me on most important meetings that I have. With my biggest customers, I'm always grabbing him because he's got tons of experience. He knows the tricks of the trade, and that's something to work.
So I'm kind of curious, and I want to ask this question to every salesperson that we get on here. What are your tips and tricks to negotiation?
Honestly, the biggest and most important one to me, I wouldn't even consider a trick. It's just something that I've learned over the years, and that's establishing relationship. So, for example, today I visited a customer with my supervisor. They let me know that FedEx is beating us on rates. They're saying, hey, I'm showing you guys our rate card with FedEx. They're beating you guys, but we're working with you because we haven't seen our FedEx rep in 2 years now. And my supervisor and I visit them at least once a month. We establish a relationship. We see what can be worked on, what can be established. And they just really, really appreciate that. So sometimes customers will value that over just, money conversations and what they're paying for. And that's probably my biggest tip.
Oh, no doubt. Daniel, we have to get a FedEx guy on here next to counter the tariffs.
With that being said, I guess how much pressure or, external pressure do these other companies bring to you and your organization specifically? Like you mentioned, FedEx is one of them. I'm sure with Amazon Prime, that seems like it's, of course, dominating the market. I mean, they can get you anything, around the world in 2 days. Like that's like almost unheard of, right? So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So here's the good thing about being an outside sales rep, a field sales rep, is you're not working with the biggest businesses just yet. So what you're doing is you're working with these smaller businesses who are either new to logistics or they're kind of startup in a way. So they're taking all the support they can get from a well-established company like DHL Express, and it's a learning process the whole time. The pressure isn't there too much for me. Now, every once in a while, a company will grow with us, and it's in my book of business, and it's in there for a few years. So I have huge targets to hit the next year, and now FedEx sees this company. So this is actually happening to me at this current moment. FedEx reached out to this company that I'm working with and said, hey, I know you guys do not only international, but domestic. We're going to create a deal for you guys. If you do both with us, you're going to get better rates than you can get from DHL. So currently they're winning this business over simply because DHL doesn't do domestic shipping. We only do international. Now they have an incentive to do both with FedEx, and that's one business that I'm probably not going to see unless we build a great case for it. The pressure is there, and what I'm trying to say is sometimes it's a good thing to be in field sales versus national because the threat isn't as large.
With that being said, what do you think is the quickest way to grow in sales? Do you think just X number of years of experience, or is it proving that you can hit those goals and it's your accomplishments? I've kind of seen both cases being presented. So yeah, what do you think for anyone listening? What's the fastest way to grow in sales?
I would have to agree with you. I think it's both, because typically you get that experience, you get those years of experience by hitting those targets. A company isn't really going to want to keep you around if you're just consistently not on target and you're not doing the right things. So as you're doing the right things, you're sticking with the company, you're learning, you're getting that experience. And that's the combination of the two, like you said, is probably the best way to go.
Very cool. So would you have any advice would you recommend for people getting into this field? What would you say?
I would say don't be afraid of the term logistics. I genuinely did not know what I was going to do for work when I started with the company. I had no idea what the company did as far as sales. I'm like, hey, it's a logistics service. What are we selling here? But really, once you get in it, a lot of it, just like with any other company, is based on establishing relationship, working closely with partners, and just keeping business going. So I would say if you're passionate about sales, if that's something you want to do in the future, don't be afraid of a certain industry just because you have no knowledge about it. Sales has the same principles regardless of the industry.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So this one's kind of a fun question for you, Taurus, but during your interview process or anything like that, did you ever come across a question where the interviewer would ask you to sell them a pen? I'm sure you've seen Wolf of Wall Street, and it's been done quite a few times.
You know, it's funny, that didn't happen to me with DHL, but when I worked at Best Buy, that was the last question they asked me, to be a part-time sales consultant. I was put under so much pressure. I didn't know what to say. I was like, honestly, why do you need a pen when this pencil is better? And I was hoping that they would like the improvisation that I had there, and I got the
job. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, oftentimes they're just testing you on your sales tactics and your methodology, right. For obviously convincing the customer to buy something or creating that need or that demand.
Right.
I mean, personally, I've never been asked that question, but it seems to be one of those things that Hollywood has made popular now.
I've been asked that question. I failed it miserably.
Oh man, yeah. So many different ways you could go. Like, I've often heard that people say sell based on emotion. You don't sell based necessarily on logic or ROI or how much time this will save you. Like, sell based off of emotion. And I guess with that, do you think that statement holds true specifically in your area of sales and things like that, or are you more selling based off of logic, ROI, data?
So I could see why selling off emotion would come into play when you're selling a product to an individual. For example, if you're working at Best Buy, you're trying to show them everything that you have and trying to get them to see what's the shiniest toy that they can have. But then when you're working with bigger companies who have stakeholders that they're going to have review what you're trying to sell to them, you have to sell based off logic. You have to show them the numbers. You have to show why you're better than the competitor. And so it's a lot different.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I guess every organization has a different strategy to go after. I mean, like you mentioned, DHL Express only deals with international shipping, so there's different strategies and different sales points to go after.
Sure.
I guess this one is a little bit more specific to sales and cold calling. What kind of advice would you give to someone who's maybe not so confident and not so outspoken, but is, looking to get in sales? And of course, cold calling is a huge part of your day and, your responsibilities.
Yeah. That's one thing that I was never looking forward to when I got with the company. Mm-hmm. But what I would have to say is, just like anything else, experience trumps all. So once you do your first couple calls or visits without any notice, just stopping in, saying hello, dropping a business card off, you realize that people probably see that, if not once a day, then multiple times a day from different companies, because someone is always trying to win business over. And so there's really no pressure. It's just, hey, this is what I have to offer for you. Please feel free to reach out if the need ever comes up. I'd be happy to help with a one-off or a quote or something like that. And they'll understand. They know that basically everyone is looking for a solution. Everyone is looking for more business. So it's really not a high-pressure situation.
With that being said, just to springboard off of that statement, do you think it's more of a priority to develop new business, sign up new customers, new clients, things like that, or really to develop the existing accounts and maximize those existing accounts? Like you said, build those relationships, build that long-term, those long-term agreements and have the business grow that way?
Sure. From my perspective, I'd say it's about 75% maintaining and growing current business, 25% attaining new business. The reason I say that is if you onboard a customer and you're not good at maintaining that business, they're going to go to somebody else. Somebody else is going to pick them up, and all the hard work that you put in, all the focus that you put in on going, I'm going to show my boss these new numbers, this new customer, all this and that. That's kind of going to go to waste if you're not good at maintaining it. So I keep a very close eye on my current customers. I make sure they're satisfied with us. I check in to make sure that if someone else has reached out to them, we're able to beat them. And if we're not able to beat them solely on price, we're able to beat them on the support that we constantly give. So that's my main focus. Mm-hmm. But attaining new businesses is definitely really important because that's how the company grows. You're always working with new customers, and then you nurture those accounts.
Yeah, sounds like it's broken up a little bit. Well, Taurus, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no problem. Just got one final question for you. It sounds like you're really passionate about everything you've been doing. You got to a good place in your life so far with your career. Looking back on it, if you could do it all over again, knowing what you know now, would you do it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like the paths I can take from my knowledge and experience can lead me to more opportunities, good earnings. So yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's great to know. No doubt.
Well, Taurus, we appreciate your time, and I'm sure our listeners got to learn a lot about sales and what it takes to get into the industry, and what day to day what that looks like, and of course where you can grow in a position like this. So we just wanted to thank you so much, and I know I myself learned a lot. I'm sure Matt learned a lot as well, and we just appreciate your time.
Hey, thank you guys for having me on. Sorry if it got a little spotty at the end there. I'm driving from Columbus to Cleveland at the moment, so you know how it gets in these roads.
Out there in
but
the
thank you guys. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Hey, always got to make a deal, hey?
Exactly.
No, that's what it takes.
Guys. Yeah,
awesome.
definitely. All right,
guys.
thanks for having me on.
Thanks so much.